Okay. Hello, welcome back to Behind Closed Doors. Today's episode is going to be really raw, really cut. I really cut? I don't even have the fucking words to try and comprehend what I'm even trying to fucking say. I'm coming off the back of being really sick, so I just need y'all. I just need y'all to bear with me while we figure this out. If you hear lots of heavy breathing or signs of struggle, I need you to fucking ignore it because it has been hell on earth. Let me actually give you a little bit of a recap. Okay, let me give you a little bit of a recap. Went out for dinner a couple of nights ago, woke up the next morning, genuinely felt like I had been hit by a fucking bus. I'm talking like I'm ready to call an ambulance type of bus. Which for someone who has PTSD when it comes to the emergency room, like that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. So that's the picture that I'm painting you. My throat is like swelling. My tongue is swollen. The back of my throat is red. It's raw, and I can physically feel my fucking tonsils touching, bro. Like I can't. It was so fucking rough. And then the body aches along with the fever, the temperature, the sweating. Oh my God. But do you know what the worst thing was? And this is so gross. So just like hold me in the highest fucking regard of this. If you've ever had tonsillitis, like you fucking know what I'm talking about. But it's when you are struggling to breathe so much that you can't swallow, that your mouth just fills with saliva and like you actually cannot breathe. Yeah. So did I genuinely think I was going to die a couple of days ago? I'm not even gonna fucking lie to you. Like, yes. Like I was actually ready to go out. I'm still a little bit swollen on the sides, but look, we're getting better. We have the antibiotics, and as a wellness girly and a holistic girly, if you will, going on antibiotics is like quite literally the last fucking thing I want to do. When I tell you, I was so grateful. So grateful for modern medicine because fuck me sideways, I genuinely thought I was going to die. Like I was sleeping in Jem's bed with the fucking pillows elevated because I needed my airway to not be restricted by my saliva. And then she had to sit on the bathroom floor with me while I was naked in the shower so that I didn't pass out. Just in case I did, like just in case all went to shit, she was there. So she was like watching me to make sure I was still like okay. Oh, it was a whole fucking thing. It was a whole fucking thing. So anywho, if you hear me struggling to breathe, that's why. And I don't want a single fucking comment about it actually. Keep that fucking shit to yourself. But today's episode, look, there's been a few things that have gone on in my life, and I've noticed that whenever I go to film or talk about my life, I always feel like it needs to be a really teachable moment. I'm going to try really hard not to do that in today's episode. The reason being is like I don't exist just to be useful and helpful, and I know that whatever I say is going to be interpreted in a way which best suits you in your life, whether that's good or bad, whether you hate me or love me, whatever the thing is. The exposure therapy that I'm testing today is like I'm actually just allowed to talk, and I don't have to give this profound lesson. Naturally, you're going to learn something. But yeah, there's been a few things. I think the first thing is that. The first thing is realizing that I don't exist to be helpful. And I've done an episode about this before, but it's so funny. I was talking to my therapist about this, and it's like everyone else is allowed to be human, right? Everyone else is allowed to fall apart, break down, grieve, cry, sob, get angry, get violent, all of those things. But I'm not. And I don't know where that comes from, like now, like nowadays. When I was growing up, sure, there was probably like restrictions for what I could and could not feel. But as an adult, it's one of those things where like the double standard is so beyond fucking strong. Like I will never shame someone for having a process. I will never shame them for being messy or looking ugly or not having their shit together. But when it comes, yuck, the swallowing. But when it comes to me, it's like that doesn't count. It's almost like it needs to be thought out, or I have to have the problem being solved before I can share that with the world. And it's something I'm working through with my therapist. And it is the most fucking disgusting confrontational shit ever, because I have to be nice. I have to forgive myself. And I'm not saying that I walk around with this inner voice, which is like, you're so fucking rah. Like, if anything, my inner voice is so quiet because I love myself so much, but I forget that I'm allowed to be human. And then I also forget on the back of that I don't have to be humble, and I don't have to be easier to deal with or more manageable. And so, yeah, the things we were talking about was like literally that. It's like I'm now learning that I can exist without supporting other people's needs and experiences. And I'm also allowed to be 100% myself. And that is a really interesting thing to sit with, because what I realized is like I haven't actually been 100% myself. I haven't shown up on the platform, social media, whatever. The only time I do is like with my clients and with my best friend, right? But I've never shown up in the world being like, I fucking am that bitch. And I used to think it was a really arrogant way to go about life, as like having the confidence not only to back yourself and what you're doing, but to really captivate a room and go, no, like this is my jam. This is exactly what I do. I know I'm the fucking shit at it. Show me someone who can do it better than me, because I'm waiting. And whenever I think about speaking like that, there's this voice in my head which is like, don't do that, Ren. Don't do it. Don't do it, because you're going to come across as arrogant and cocky and too much and too confident. And people are going to be like, oh, look at this bitch. She's so fucking up herself. But the thing is, and here's the thing, and here's the thing, and I'm sorry, and I just have to say it. That is who I am. Like, to my fucking core, I genuinely believe that is who I am. And so why am I not letting that be seen in the world? So there's two things. It's like I'm allowed to be human, messy, raw, sob on my best friend's lap, talk about the shit that's going on in my life, be so vulnerable in that sense. And like, that's okay. I mean, it feels fucking disgusting, but that's okay. But then it comes to like getting everything you want, being demanding, being labeled as arrogant, being labeled as a bitch, being labeled as too up herself. And like, that is automatically wrong. But that's not wrong, because that's who I am. And we're just going to take a water break because I literally can't breathe. Bear with me. I've added lemon and salt, if anyone gives a shit. So, yeah, that's a really interesting thing to learn about yourself. And then it's like, why haven't I shown the world that? And it's like, oh, you're afraid of the judgment. Yeah. You're afraid of being too big. You're afraid of no longer being relatable to people. And look, this is something that I have wanted for a really long time. Like, I've always wanted to be famous, a household name. I've always wanted to have a viral podcast and be an influencer online. You know, I've always wanted that. I don't know why, it's just always been there. And I love it. And then at the same time, it is such a fucking weird job, because I'm sharing my life and then people have something to say about that. And then the little voice inside me is like, but we want people to love us, and we want to be respected, and we want to feel chosen, and we want to feel seen. And it's like, but people don't like us because of this video. And it's like, and it's such a fucking weird thing to sit with, because on one hand, you're doing everything you want and no one can tell you twice. And then on the other hand, it's like, oh my God, people are now going to judge me for being 100% myself. And learning to sit with that judgment is so uncomfortable, because I think when I think back to, 3-4 years ago, when I was just really starting out with the social media journey, there was so much positive recognition for the way that I thought and my feelings, my opinions, the way that I would go about my perspectives, values, whatnot, because it was relatable to people. I thought the same way. I thought being broke, unhappy, not in shape, in shitty relationships, with shitty friendships, drinking every weekend, all of that energy was good and normal. I thought it was like the peak standard of my life. And complaining with my friends and complaining to bond and just treating my body like shit was the standard. And because there were so many people around me at the time reinforcing that narrative, and then when I would post it online, people would feel seen in their struggle, seen in their issues, and then feel validated for how they were treating themselves. Of course, there's going to be so much positive recognition, right? Because Ren is now relatable to your experience. You feel less alone, you feel more seen, you feel more heard, you feel more understood, even though what that is portraying is a very unhealthy image or identity. And at the time when I was posting this shit on social media, like, I was not in a good place, mind you. I remember having a binge eating disorder, a fucking normal eating disorder. I remember living paycheck to paycheck. I remember being in a really emotionally abusive relationship. I remember having just the worst self-confidence, the worst body image issues, body dysmorphia. Like, I was binging like chocolate cake and fucking, what else did I used to eat? Oh my God, the Milky Bar blocks of chocolate. Like a block a night. Okay? So, and I was doing drugs and I was fucking drinking. And I like wanted out of my relationship so bad at the time. Like, holy shit. So there was just all of these things which were going on behind closed doors. And then they were just never spoken about because I got so much validation for my experience through social media. And it wasn't until maybe like a year ago I really started posting, or maybe not even, maybe 2 years ago. But I really started posting my real feelings, my real experiences. And the difference was fucking crazy, because what do you mean I've gone from being like the favorite fucking girl on the internet to now all of a sudden people have something really negative to say about my life. People disagree with my opinions. They are downright hating, like sharing it to their friends. I've been added into people's fucking group chats. There's been Reddit, what do you call them? Columns. Like, I have been in it when it comes to haters. I remember this one time I was sitting with one of my friends at the time, and we were going through my comment section on one of my videos on TikTok, and between the two of us, like, we deleted 218 hate comments about nothing to do with my video, but how I looked, how I spoke, the way I presented myself, just so many things. It was the first time in my life where I genuinely felt insecure because people were pointing out things that I had never, ever paid attention to. And it was such a humbling fucking experience. And I remember sitting with my friend and he was like, it's okay, like, people are allowed an opinion, da 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 da. I'm fucking, mind you, I'm sobbing on the garage floor, literally in hysterics, because I'm like, what do you mean someone doesn't like me? What do you mean? Like, I'm such a good person, da 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 da. And so now, fast forward to this year, it's a really interesting thing to go back and forth with. It's like new level, same devil, right? I'm still learning that, but it's just on a different scale. And so now I'm learning to sit with the fact that people think I'm blunt and very arrogant. And like, one of the top comments on my videos is like, you're so rude. And it's like, but I'm not, though. I'm just saying the thing that no one else is saying. I'm actually just not sugarcoating it so that you keep playing into this performative fucking lifestyle which you hate. And it is one of the most fucking weird feelings in the world because on one hand, I back my opinion 100%. I'm 10 toes fucking down on my shit. That's my lived motherfucking experience. Like, you couldn't argue with me if you tried because you haven't been in my shoes in that respect, right? Not saying that you're not allowed an opinion. Have your opinion. I think it's wrong. Fight me in the comments about that. So on one hand, there's that. And then on the other hand, I am ready to defend myself to the gods. What do you mean? What do you mean you think I'm a bitch? What do you mean you think that I'm arrogant? I'm not. I'm such a nice person. I do all of these things for my friends and my family, and I take care of people. And learning to sit with that uncomfortable feeling long enough for it not to trigger you is disgusting. And one thing that me and my therapist are working through every year is exposure therapy in that regard. Because how are you going, and honestly, Ren, speaking to me right now, how are you going to be rich and fucking famous? How are you going to be a household name if you can't sit with the discomfort of people not liking you? That's what my therapist said to me. And I remember he got me to do this exposure therapy, and I had to post a video of me actually just not sugarcoating anything. And this was probably like, oh my God, maybe 6 months ago, maybe 4 months ago, something like that. And I posted this video. It went fucking viral. Like, insanely viral. Almost 1 million views. And then the comments rolled the motherfuck in. And he made me, for an hour, every single day, go through, read the comments, sit with the discomfort, scream into a pillow, cry if I need to. And then if I felt the need to defend myself, I had to ask myself why. And it always came back to wanting to be liked, respected, valued, and appreciated. I wanted people to see the good in me, but that's not how the world works. Everyone will always have something to say. There will always be something that you do wrong in someone's eyes. And learning that lesson again and again and again is fucking disgusting. But in order for me to get everything I want, I have to stand in that energy, right? Excuse me. I have to stand in that energy. And part of that is actually knowing who the fuck you are if you're not craving that attention and that validation. So do I still believe in my opinions? Do I still believe in my values? Do I still believe that what I'm doing with my life is good, sustainable? It actually brings purpose to my life if it's not being validated. And this is a question that you can ask yourself, right? Because we are so used to performing for people for their approval. So what happens when you have dreams or aspirations, opinions, feelings, you're in relationships, friendships, and no one can validate that for you? What happens when no one agrees with your opinion? What do? How do you sit with that? And what I had to learn is like there was a lot of me that I wasn't showing the world because I knew that people wouldn't agree with my opinion. And then I would feel resentful towards posting, or I would feel resentful towards my company. I would feel resentful towards helping people. And because of that whole fucking thing, which no one talks about on the fucking internet because we've all got our shit together, right? Because of that, I got so burnt out and so fucking tired of just performing in a sense. But it wasn't performing in a way of like, this is actually what's going on behind closed doors. And here's what my life actually looks like. It was performing in the way of like, I just didn't say what I actually felt. I was performing in a way that was easier for people to deal with. Because if I get on the internet and I say how I really feel, there are hundreds of thousands of people who disagree with that. And it happens every single fucking time. And then I just have to sit there and go, that's okay. That's okay, they're allowed their opinion. That's okay, they're allowed their opinion. And as someone who struggles with rejection dysphoria, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. That's what my therapist said. That's difficult because I take that personally. Like when you sit there and you comment and you say like you're such a bitch or this is such a blunt take, I'm like, oh my God, I'm too much. I need to tone it down. I need to be nicer in my delivery of my content. I need to be nicer when I speak to people, da da da. But if I do that, I'm not being myself because I'm not a love and light girl. I don't care about sparing your feelings if it's going to get you to be so triggered that you change your fucking life. Like, I'm not a love and light girl. I can't pretend to honor that fucking shit for you that you supposedly hate. And this is why my fucking clients get results, dude, because we don't beat around the bush. Because I know what it feels like to beat around the bush. I did that with my own life for so many years, and then I hired so many fucking coaches and mentors who also beat around the fucking bush, who also never told it to me straight. And it's like, why are we doing that when the clear-cut solution is to just be more blunt, be more direct, say the fucking thing the first time, say how you actually feel instead of holding back to try and keep the peace, because there is no peace to be kept. I remember my therapist saying this to me. I was like, I'm such a people pleaser, da 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 da. And he goes, who are you pleasing? And in that moment, I was like, oh, literally fucking no one. In the moment, I'm just disappointing myself. There is no people that are being pleased by my existence, bro. Like, there's none. Like, they've all got something to say. So it's just about learning to be okay with that. And that's what I'm navigating. That's what I'm navigating. And I posted a video the other day and I was talking about how if you're a brat in the bedroom, you're probably not a brat in real life, and why being more demanding, more audacious, more arrogant is actually going to get you what you want, and how so many women are very submissive and tend to roll over when it comes to their day-to-day life. And people, like obviously, what's the word? There were contrasting opinions, right? People were like, fuck yeah, I love this, da 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 da. And then others were like, holy shit, this is so aggressive. This is not the hot take you thought it was. Da 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 da. And it's just learning to go, okay, these are my people and these are not. And I feel like if there is going to be a lesson for this podcast, let it be that. There's always going to be a contrasting opinion. Whether you buy a house, get married, fall in love, get a degree, do the same status quo shit that everyone else does, or you buy a van, you go travel, you don't have kids. Maybe you get married if you want to. Maybe you start a business. Maybe you quit your 9 to 5 and you do something that actually fills your soul. Maybe you leave a really nice, normal relationship so that you can find better. Whatever the thing is, there's always going to be people who have an opinion on that. And there will always be people who will stand 10 toes motherfucking down on their opinion, because that's genuinely how they perceive the world. They perceive the world through their lens, through their lived experience. And if people have not experienced the same things as you, they're not going to have the same perspective as you. Whether you argue with them till your face is blue, they're always going to have a different perspective or a different opinion, judgment, or projection. That's normal. What isn't normal is all of that influx, but it's just learning to sit with it. And yeah, look, that is a little bit of a lesson. And I genuinely think that's why I got so sick, is because I've just been like going and going and going and going and going, and almost like normalizing that is what life feels like. But there was like 6 months last year where it was, sorry, it wasn't even last year, bro. It was fucking this year. Holy shit. Yeah. I forget. From like December till April? So full on. So full on. And so much processing, so many emotions. I think I was going to therapy like 3 times a week at that point in my life. But I was also like making the most money I'd ever made. I thought on paper, like, life was fucking incredible. And what I've learned now is like I was so burnt out and I was just going, just like stuck in this constant loop of like must continue, must continue, must continue. People need help, post the fucking content, keep running the business, you have a team, da 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 da, which is fine. But at some point, we have to step back and go like, this isn't working. There needs to be a different approach. And that is what I'm finally living now, is the different approach. It's like, how do I want to make content? What do I actually want to do in my business? Not what do I think people are going to receive the best or the wellest. That's not a word. What do I think people are going to receive the best versus like what the fuck does Ren want to do? And it's crazy. I've always wanted to do podcasting. I've always wanted to start a YouTube. And again, it's like just don't do it. Do it. People aren't going to subscribe. No one gives a fuck. Man. It's like, whoa, girlfriend. So, yeah, that's like kind of my real and raw update, I guess. What else is happening in my world? Oh, it's been a month and a half since I've been single. Shout out to me for that. That was probably one of the most hardest and easiest decisions of my life. And I feel like people only talk about breakups in a really deep, depressive, grieving way, which is like, makes so much sense, right? They are quite tumultuous for a lot of people. I think in my life, this is going to sound really, really fucking sad, so just hold me in that. But in my life, there is always a tower moment. And if you don't know what a tower moment is, it's when like shit crumbles to the ground and then you rebuild. It's a big theme, like in my astrology chart, to always have like that death and rebirth cycle. So, you know, when people are like messaging me and they're like, I hope you're okay, and you know, breakups are hard and you'll get through it, da da da. I'm just kind of sitting there and I'm like, this is probably the easiest thing I'll go through in my life. Like, to me, breakups are another Thursday, and the hardest part about that is probably giving myself permission to change the identity. Because again, like as someone who always has that death and rebirth card or the tower lifestyle, a lot of people cannot fathom the idea that I can change my mind and I can pivot as quickly as I do. And again, that's always been something that people have, you know, commented on. It's like, you can't follow through and you always change your mind and just stick to one thing. And it's like, dude, I'm not meant to. Like, 1, I'm a Scorpio. 2, I'm an Aquarius fucking moon. 3, I'm a manifesting generator with all of my loops closed, bar 1, if you know what that is. Human design, search it up. So for me to actually continue living my life as the typical or traditional way that most women and men do isn't real. Like, for me to sit with something that I fucking hate for the purpose of fulfilling that is crazy. I'm always changing my mind. I'm always pivoting. I'm always listening to my intuition. You could not tell me to stick with something if I and my body don't want to. Sorry. Call it what you want. I don't give a fuck. But yeah, because of that, going through a breakup for me is something which is, it was just a decision that needed to be made. And I think a lot of people really dwell on the emotion that comes with making hard decisions. But at the end of the day, like, you're either going to be sad in one way or sad in the other. And if you have to choose between leaving or staying, I would leave every single time, because at least we know there's going to be growth on the other side of you leaving something, whether that be a relationship, a job, a friendship, whatever the fucking thing is. But there's always going to be growth on the other side of big decisions. And so for me, like, it was a really easy decision in a way of like, I asked myself the question and I answered my question with follow through and action. And then it was also the hardest decision in my life because I had curated this vision of a future, and then that's no longer going to be fulfilled. And I think that's the grief that people don't realize in the moment of their grieving when it comes to breakups or even friendships and things like that, right? Even jobs, whatever the fuck it is. We're grieving the life that we thought we were going to live, which means that the identities that we were building cease to exist. The way that we move around the world cease to exist. Our values change. There's just a lot of pivoting, a lot of change, a lot of shifting and weaving into different identities. And that can be probably the hardest part for me personally, is just knowing like the identity was being built and now the identity changes completely or it ceased to exist. And that can be the saddest part for it. But again, like there's always growth on the other side. And I highly, highly, highly recommend if you are sitting here and you're listening to this and you're like, there's something in my life that I need to change, leave. Leave to get that change. Leave to get that transformation. You know, people talk a lot about how it's like the love and light energy or like the happiness pushes them forward. Like I'm so grateful. Like I'm so grateful, hand on heart, that sometimes an anger or an amount of grief or the fed upness energy pushes me forward in life. Like I'm not really one to be motivated by joy or potential. Like some days it is just about going, I deserve better. And then feeling that anger and that rage and then that grief and then using that to move you forward instead of always moving from a place of like, I'm so aligned and I'm so happy and I'm so full of joy and I choose to grow and I did it. Like, yeah, sure. I mean, like that's very valid for a lot of people. For me, no. I've moved mountains from a place of personal vengeance for my energy versus being like, life is good and I want it to be better. And I think that's also a really hard concept to sit with or grasp. 1 second. Yuck, sorry team. What was I saying? Oh, that's a really hard concept to sit with and grasp because previously in my life I had always been moving from a place of like, fuck this, I'm so done, da 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 da. And, you know, this breakup this time around, it was actually just a conscious decision to choose myself in a world where I'm taught to choose others. And it wasn't necessarily bad. And it was probably one of the best relationships I had been in for a really fucking long time. But there comes a point in our life where we do have to justify the settling, if you will. So it's like, it's good, but it's not great. So do you want great or do you want good? And that's it. And a lot of people move out of relationships and friendships and things in their life because things are shit and they want better. But what if it was like good? And moving from good to great is a concept that a lot of people cannot grasp because they've never allowed themselves to even get to good. And again, a lot of opinions came with that. A lot of judgment, a lot of projections, a lot of people telling me like, that's the worst decision you're going to make. You definitely shouldn't do that. You should just settle. You should just do what everyone wants you to do. You have it so good, Ren, da 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 da. Respectfully to those people, eat my ass because that will never be me. I never settle. So why am I going to do it for you? Again, clip that. That's probably a lesson you can take as well. Me saying at the start of this video, I don't want this to be a lesson, but yeah, learning to navigate moving from good to great is something where I haven't been ever. And again, with that comes so much projection and so much judgment, and just learning to be okay with that and learning to understand that people love relatability so that they can justify their suffering. And when you are no longer the pillar of relatability, fuck me. When you are no longer the pillar of relatability, what are you to people? You become like the judgment card. You become the comparison. You become competition. And again, I'm going through this with my therapist, but that shift from being so relatable to people to the point where friends that I used to once have and conversations and the praise and like I would walk into stores, cafes, or like my like previous friendships, relationships, whatever, would message me, and people who were once like die hard followers and full fucking support of my life, crickets, silence. And I haven't even done anything wrong. Do you know what I mean? It's not like we've had this massive falling out, which would validate why people switch up and change. And so even learning to be okay with that, like people are allowed to support you, and then they're allowed to change their mind. Because if I'm allowed, because if I'm allowed to do it, then you're allowed to do it, right? But even learning to just be with that feeling is, yeah, just something that I thought I had already done. And so it's like new level, same devil, being okay with no longer being relatable means okay with being judged. And it doesn't feel nice, but it is okay. It's an okay emotion to sit with. The world will not end. So I guess that's something that you can really take away from today as well, as like when you no longer are relatable to people and you're no longer suffering for fun and you're no longer gossiping for fun and you're no longer, out of shape to be relatable, or you no longer hate your body, or you no longer want to settle in relationships or suffer. It's really hard for people to grasp the idea that you got out or you changed your life because they've been struggling to change theirs. And I just want to say, like, to anyone who feels that way right now, one, know that I fucking see you. Bitch, do I fucking see you. And then two, don't change who you are because those people can't keep up. It's actually not your responsibility to be everyone's emotional support water bottle. And that will continue to happen in your life. And it sucks to hear, but it's true. Like every year, there are people in my life who I thought were ride or die energy, just disappear off the face of the earth. And I have to sit with that and go, that actually means nothing to do with me and my self-worth. It just is actually where they're at. And me continuing to devalue myself or bring myself down or play into a smaller level of who I am does not actually serve the people who need me to be there. It serves the people who actually never believed in me from the get-go. And that's not what I want to do with my life. So, yeah, that was a tangent. I didn't even know we were fucking about to. That's a magic school bus. I didn't even know we were about to ride. But yeah, those are kind of been the things that I have been navigating. And now, I guess coming off the back of all of that, the focus for July is deep rest, deep recovery, and basics. Basics, basics, basics. And no longer tolerating mediocre in any sense of the word, whether that be client conversations, conversations with my best friend, people's content on social media, dating, any of it. I don't want mediocre. I don't want to be people's relatability buddy. Like, I want you to watch these conversations and feel inspired to change your life. Not that I've normalized it for you. That's the difference. And I know with that comes people's projections, which is fine because I'm learning and I'm sitting with the fucking feeling. Yeah. But what else? that's about it, really. Really and truly. It's just learning to be more vulnerable. It's learning to be more open and be okay with not being chosen by everyone. I feel like, even though we've already said it, there are no lessons in today's episode, that's definitely a lesson that I want you to be with. So, yeah, I think I'm going to leave it here. Again, for everyone who likes, comments, subscribes, and supports, I fucking love you. I really, really, really appreciate you being here. Like, truly, hand on heart. And then for everyone who sat through this 40 minutes of me sounding like I'm actually about to die, I love you even more. But I'll see you guys next week for another really raw and honest conversation. Okay? I love you.